Hi everyone, this is Crystal and I'm back with week 19 in my 2020 Project Life album. I have my photos ready to go. Actually, I still need to trim these out, but they are printed and I don't have a huge number of photos for this week, so it should be a lot of fun to fill in all those empty spaces. For supplies, I will be using the Heidi Swap Storyline Chapters project pad. So this has some solid papers, some single-sided pattern papers. There are some specialty papers in here as well. There are glitter papers. And then there are also two sheets of stickers. So it should be plenty to fill in this week's spread. I also have the stamp set that coordinates with this collection, and then I have two sets of wood veneer from Colorcast Designs that I am going to try and use. So that is my plan. I am going to go ahead and put you on fast forward, trim out my photos, and then get started. Okay, so I'm going to start by trimming out my photos, and if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, you probably already know that I print all of my photos at home. I actually have a video where I talk about my printing at home process, so I'll be sure to link that up above. But I do print all of them at home, and I use Photoshop to do the multiple photos on a single piece of photo paper, and I have found that I have the best luck with that process. So I was just trimming out the little 4x6 photo paper to get those 3 photos ready for my page. And then I am going to just look at these stickers and the papers in this kit and start deciding which ones I think I want to use. So I know I want to use this rainbow paper. It's my favorite in the project pad. I thought it would make a perfect title card, so that's going to be my plan. And then I'm just going to pick other papers that kind of work with the colors that are in this one. So I'm going to stick to a fairly small color palette. I do end up adding an accent color more towards the end of the video, but basically this is going to be my color palette right here. So I'm just looking through the rest of the papers and making sure there's no other ones that I want to include, and then I'm going to start trimming these down. So I decide just to trim them in half to give myself a 6-inch piece of paper to work with. That way I can trim it down to 4x6 or 3x4 depending on where I want to use each pattern. I do end up cutting off the little printed words on this pink one just because I just wanted the color and not so much that texture. It wasn't going to show up well on my small format page anyway. So I'm just going to start trimming things down, trying to figure out where I want them on the page. I like the idea of that bolder color at the bottom to kind of add some visual weight to the bottom of my spread. I thought the yellow worked really well behind those smaller photos. And then here's where I trim off that texture, that printed texture on that pink paper, so I can use it in that top pocket. And then I struggle a bit to figure out what to use for these other two. So I do end up using another piece of this pink paper in one of those pockets, but the other one I wasn't sure. I thought about bringing in another pattern paper, maybe something more neutral, but eventually I decided just to go with the rainbow paper and cut a smaller piece of it as well. I didn't want to use any of the other 3 patterns that I had already picked out because there are already those patterns around that photo, and it would be 2 of the same papers right next to each other, and this was the only other one I had already chosen. None of the other papers I thought really worked well, so I'm just going to go with this. So the first thing I'm going to do after that is to look through these Colorcast Design wood veneer pieces and pick out a few of them that I want to use. I end up using all of the ones that I end up using are from the same packet. I have 2 here, but the ones I ended up using are all from the same one. I'll be sure to link that down below. I can't remember what it was called in the shop, but if it's available, I will absolutely link it in the description box. This other one was more, it was less COVID-19 specific, and I wanted something that was a bit more about our life in quarantine. So I have 3 in place now that I plan to use. I do like to do things in 3, so that felt like a good balance to me. And now I'm going to start stamping. So I pulled out one of the solid colored papers from the paper pad. This is just a really neutral kind of grayish color. It It doesn't exactly match any of the colors in the rainbow piece, but it matches one of them pretty closely, so I thought that would work well. And I decide that I'm going to start stamping on that, and then I also end up using it to back those 3 small square photos just to help them stand off a bit better from those pattern papers that they're sitting on. But first I wanted to get this little cluster on this photo taken care of. I knew I wanted to use a label there, and I had seen a sticker on this sticker sheet that I really wanted to use on that photo, so I decided to go ahead and get that stuck down before I moved on. I do also add a little kind of label sticker to this top paper so that I can add my journaling to that, but I'm not going to stick anything down on top of it yet because I want to type my journaling, so that'll let me run it through my typewriter without the wood veneer or the photo getting in the way. I also added a label to my title card so I can stamp my dates there. Of course, there are no alphas in this project pad, so I'm just going to end up pulling some alphas from my stash here in a little bit. And once again, if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, you probably know about my dirty little alpha secret. I have a ton, so you'll see here in a second I have lots to choose from, even when I'm just pulling a few off the top of my pile to find one that works with this page. Okay, so right now I'm looking through my ink swatches to find an ink color that will work with the colors on my spread. I really wanted something that was just kind of neutral, that would kind of blend in with this pattern or solid paper from the project pad. So I found Hero Art Soft Brown, and I'm going to use that to stamp this little banner from the stamp set. And I had originally thought I would do more than that, that I would come back and do more stamping, but that ends up being pretty much it. I do add just a few small stamps to one of the other papers here in a little bit, but I didn't do nearly as much stamping as I thought I would, just because I didn't end up really having space for it like I thought I might. So I'm going to trim out this little banner just by hand with my scissors. It's all straight lines, so it's super easy to trim. And then I'm going to add those 3 little photos to that same neutral paper and give them a border, just like I said before, to help them stand out a bit from those pattern papers. So just a super thin border of this neutral paper is enough to make them, it makes it not look so busy. It breaks it up a bit from the busy photos to the busy paper. It gives your eyes a place to rest and helps the photos stand out. Okay, so just trimming those out. Speaking of trimming, this is the 3rd trimmer that I have had, and I'm not crazy about it. You may have seen that I trimmed the papers down to 6 inches with this one, but I had to bring out my little guillotine trimmer to be able to cut them down to 4 inches because this trimmer doesn't have a 4-inch mark, which is super annoying. And I've been looking for a replacement, but I just don't know the best one. So if you have any suggestions or recommendations, I know a lot of people like the Cutter Bee, but it's so big and I just don't have a lot of space. So I'm looking for something that maybe doesn't take up quite so much space, but something that I'm not just going to have to replace again in a couple years like I have my last 2 trimmers. And this one has served me well. It just gets a little annoying not being able to cut certain lengths because there isn't a mark for it. Okay, enough about trimmers. So I saw these Who, What, When, Where stickers in the project pad at the beginning, and I really wanted to include them. I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, but I decided just to layer them, or not really layer, but add them to that bottom pocket card, that kind of darker paper, just in a line down the side. And then I thought I will go back and add some journaling to the right hand side of that, just kind of following that line down the page. And that worked just fine. Of course, I will say that this ends up not being my favorite spread ever. I really like all the individual elements of it, but when it comes together, it just looks a little off to me, and I'm not sure what I could have done differently to make it more appealing to myself, but yeah, something just wasn't quite right, and I think it had something to do with having such large print papers, so I wish that that rainbow paper was a smaller print. I wish I had gotten the 6x8 pad instead of the 12x12 project pad, at least for a Project Life spread. I think it's great for 12x12 scrapbooking or larger format scrapbooking, which is honestly what I thought I was going to do with this project pad, and which is what I will likely do with the rest of it. But for Project Life, I wish I had gotten the 6x8 pad as well. That way all of these prints would have been in a smaller format and would have just fit a little bit better in this in these pockets. And as much as I love the stickers, I did find myself wishing I had more die cuts or things like that that I could add. Stickers work well, but there was often a spot where I felt like it just needed a little something extra, and none of the stickers really worked. So yeah, I think I might go ahead and purchase the 6x8 pad and maybe one of the ephemera packs, just so that I can get the full use out of the supplies that I already have and don't feel like I don't have enough to really complete a project here. So I looked through everything again. You just saw me. I didn't find much else to add here. This is where I grabbed my huge stack of gold alphas, and these are just a few of them. These are definitely not all of them, but just the ones that were on top of my little container that didn't fit inside. So was just looking through them to figure out which of these fonts I wanted to use for my title card, and I chose this one. I have no idea what collection it's from, and I don't remember the name of it, but I will go look it up and I will add it below if I can find it available somewhere. It's a really nice size. It's not too big, but it's also not one of those tiny ones, so it works really well on these pocket pages, and there are a ton of numbers in this set as well, so again, works really well for Project Life. So I just added week 19 there to the top, and I'm going to stamp the dates using my Heidi Swap date stamp. And I thought about using that same soft brown ink, but there is some black in some of the elements on this page, so I decided just to go ahead and use black to help tie those in as well. So just stamped the beginning and ending dates, and that's going to be it for my title card. Super simple, just keeping it really simple. So I added that flag to this photo of these are actually the mushrooms that we hunted for last week and then ended up cooking this week, and a label under each of those small photos, and typed up my journaling on each of those. I had originally thought I would add some journaling to the label I added to the black and white photo, but I basically covered everything in all of the other journaling that I did, so I ended up just adding a little arrow sticker there, and that worked out just fine. I did struggle a bit to fill in this filler card. I end up choosing a sticker from the project pad, and I end up deciding to do some repeat stamping on the background. So there is a little sun stamp in the stamp set, and I'm going to grab some yellow ink. I believe this is Buttercup from Studio Calico that I end up using, and I'm just going to create some repeat stamps in a diagonal down from the top left corner to the bottom right corner of my 3x4 card. You can see I tested the color on a little scrap of that pink paper just because I wanted to make sure that it was going to read right over the top of a colored piece of paper. And then I added that Hello Sunshine sticker on the top of it. If you read my journaling, you will realize that this was not a great week for us. It was a hard week, and all of the sentiments in that project pad were very positive, and it just didn't feel quite right adding something super positive like this, life is wonderful, or today is great, when it really wasn't at the moment. So I thought Hello Sunshine was neutral enough that I could add it, and I thought it worked well with the photo of Scrunch, our cat Scrunchy, down below it. So there is the finished spread. There are lots of close-up photos coming up so you can see all of the details and read the journaling if you so choose. I hope that you were able to find some inspiration in this video, and if you did enjoy it, I do appreciate a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you back here soon.